and welcome to the Good Intentions Show. I'm your host, Tim Ray, and also founder of the United Intentions Foundation. Are you ready to die? That is the question today we're going to be talking about. What is death? What happens after you die? Is there something going to happen right before you die? Did you find your purpose in life? So I have a wonderful guest today, Susan McDowell, and we're going to be discussing that and much more, and finding out whether we really are beings of here on Earth or we're something more than that. So, Susan, welcome. And again, I want to mention that you're also the owner of Magic Touch.
Yes.
So we do radio a lot together, and we talk about death periodically. So why is that like the number one fear, you think, in the world?
Because it's going to happen to everybody. And pretty much nobody wants it to, you know. So, and people are so afraid because they don't know unless they've had a near-death experience. And pretty much anybody who has had a near-death experience, it takes away the fear of death. And so it's the unknown. Am I going to just end? Is it going to be difficult? You know, all these things. And the main thing is it's out of your control. And people really feel fear being out of their control.
So it sounds like, I know some of your backstory, but you know what death is like because you have been dead before.
I have.
Why don't you tell us about that experience?
I have. Yep, I died and am here to tell you there really is nothing to fear. It's like the most accelerated life experience you could ever imagine. It's like life 10x and more than that. But for me, I'll just kind of sum it up a little bit. When they say your whole life passes before you, I've been meditating my whole life and going in and out of other dimensions at will. So it doesn't really scare me. And I think that may be why I had this little bit different experience than most people that I've heard. And what happened to me was, first thing, there was no time. It was a timeless realm. And so wherever I focused, I was there. And I went through...
This is self-induced, like a meditation?
Well, or? No, it's more... now I'm talking about when I died.
Yeah, when you died.
But it's more like your soul. It wasn't like I'm sitting here and I'm choosing to focus on your blue shirt.
Yeah.
It was the soul taking my focus to these places to show me, I think, me and what was happening. So I realized afterward that what my soul had shown me was the entire evolution of mankind through me. So I was me, and I was in all different time periods and places, and I was in different bodies all at once. But I experienced them one at a time very intimately. So I was a cave woman, and I realized what it was like then, what our minds were like and our emotions, and that we lived completely off of our instincts in those days, more like an animal, because everything's about survival. I could feel my matted, dirty hair, and I could feel how in the moment I was. But in that state, I was unable to reflect. That part of my brain hadn't developed yet. So I couldn't look ahead into the future, and I couldn't remember the past. Everything was about now and survival.
Present moment.
Yes. And then I'll just say a couple of them to kind of show you. I was in the Victorian ages, and I saw a gigantic Victorian ballroom, and I had all of that restrictive corset clothes. It was all tightened up. And I realized how that even symbolized the constricted mind in those days, because women, of course, were not allowed to have their own, free thoughts. And I was a woman then who was dying to be more free. I was dying to express myself, and I knew that some of the ideas I had would never be accepted, and that I had to just keep them to myself. And I felt really frustrated at wanting to be more and be allowed to be more. And then I went into a future place where I was totally enlightened, and And I realized that this me in this lifetime is the part of my soul. Our soul, I think of it like, it's hard to explain these things, but as a pie. And the pieces of the pie are all the different lives and times and bodies, right? So then and in the times we're in, we all know evolvement is happening really fast. Now everything is going really fast, which makes the extremes more extreme. But the whole thing that's happening now is a lot of people are being born to be that piece of the pie that gathers all the other pieces together. And through that experience, I now have memory of all of that and awareness and experience of my own evolution through time.
Wow. Well, yeah, I was just say, that's remarkable. In fact, when you have that type of experience, you know that there's no death.
Right.
And when we get back from break, let's talk about how other people can know there's no death who haven't had that experience.
Okay? Good.
We'll be right back with Susan McDowell and the Magic Touch. Hi, I'm Tim Ray, founder of the United Intentions Foundation. I want you to imagine a world where bullying doesn't exist. Or how about your child wakes up in the morning and is grateful for everything they have, or they actually believe in himself or herself. On top of that, imagine this. Imagine your child understands that their thoughts and feelings create what they experience. All this is possible with our Imagine If program. And it's all about social emotional learning, showing children how their thoughts and feelings create what they experience. To learn more, go to imagineifprogram.org.
What if you could have whatever you desired with a simple thought? Wishful thinking? Science has proven that thoughts can change our reality. Join the movement and be part of an interactive virtual community that helps you take control of your life through the power of intentions. Learn to create the life you desire, one intention at a time. Sign up today for your free account and start creating.
Hi, I'm Tim Ray, founder of the United Intentions Foundation. And how would you like to have a formula for manifesting whatever you want in your life? You think it's that easy? Well, maybe not that easy, but you could start out with this. Understanding that it's all about creating a state of being. Your state of being, how you act throughout your day, how you feel about yourself throughout the day, and being conscious of that in any given moment. And understanding these three principles: repetition, expectancy, and meaning. And adding those three principles into your life could change and create the state of being that you would need to actually manifest what you want. Remember, repetition, expectancy, expecting what you really want, repeating what you want, and also adding meaning to what you want creates that state of being, a fertile land and fertile soil for you to attract what you truly want to experience. To learn more, go to unitedintentions.org. Welcome back. We are sitting here with Susan McDowell from the Magic Touch, and we're talking about death.
Yes.
So you, without any doubt, believe there is no death.
Yes.
At least not a death in the sense that our energy just goes.
Our consciousness does not end.
Okay.
Ever. We have that with us, and it's actually more than we have here. You become more, not less. You drop your body, but you still have complete awareness of everything. And you're aware of everything that's happening here at the same time. But you have a much larger, broader view of the big picture. You can see how everything fits into place somehow. Even the worst atrocities, the most awful thing on earth, in the big picture, first of all, when you know there is no death, you can see where all these things fit. But you kind of have to look over, millions of years to really understand that it all was leading somewhere.
Right.
And so is all this today that's going on. We will find out it all served a purpose eventually.
So you had this bigger picture where most people don't have that opportunity for that bigger picture. So coming from a limited perspective on death, what are some of the things that people can do to gain more confidence like you do that there is no death and we just transition into whatever we're going to transition into? Consciousness never lost.
Yes.
What are some things that they could hold on to, you think, that will help them put them at ease and start living this life? And
yes. Well, first, I would say read up, because it's really important to educate your logical mind. And so when you read about all the people who have had a near-death experience, and then you gather information and you see how similar and pretty much everybody, even though their experience is slightly different, there are certain things that are alike all through. And everybody that has it pretty much agrees there's nothing to fear. Don't worry about it, people. But the other thing you could do, so that's educating your logical mind.
Right.
But you are not going to kick that fear completely until you have an actual experience of touching eternity. And people go, well, how the heck do you do that, you know? But meditation is the way to do that. And that's why I believe I had the full experience that I had, because I had been meditating for years and going in and out of other dimensions and realms and having expanded experiences, expanding into my soul consciousness. So you don't have to die to have the experience of what death will show you. And that's one of the many reasons meditation is one of the most valuable practices anyone can have.
Well, I think a lot of people think the dream state is not real. When you have out-of-body experiences, it's not real. But do you believe it's just another level of reality, another dimension? So it's real for that moment.
Yes.
Okay.
And on Earth, our brain works to filter out a lot of those other realities.
For our five senses.
Yes. And so we're supposed to be focused here in this physical plane. But we all know there are exceptions to that rule, like people with schizophrenia. Yeah, there's so many people who that part of their brain is open that is normally only focused here. And they don't have a ground. When it's called an illness, it's because that person doesn't have a grounding place in themselves. So they lose themselves in the other dimensions, and it scares everybody here.
So you're saying basically some people in the psych ward could actually be experiencing other realities.
Absolutely.
But we load them up on drugs and say that they're crazy.
Yes, exactly. And it's funny, I was just talking with Jesse about the movie A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
And to me, that was one of the things that showed our power. Because he was a genius, he figured out how to focus himself here. He completely lost himself into these other realms, but then he learned that, oh, these aren't on this plane, and that if I ignore that plane and just bring my focus here, I can function in the physical world normally. And that, to me, is what they need to start implementing. But of course, you need people who understand how to do that. But
have you had experience with you personally with maybe people with Alzheimer's or where you felt like they were in another realm or dimension where most people would be like, they're just a little crazy?
Yes.
You know? And you're crazy for thinking that.
Yes. And that's another thing I really wanted people to get more understanding about what's happening with Alzheimer's and dementia. And my father had dementia. He went in and out of it for his last couple of years. And my other siblings, now I'm the only one out of state, so they were there going through it as it built. And it was very upsetting to them because my brother said to me when I went up this one time, and last time I saw him, he wasn't there, and now he was going through this. And my brother was just so saddened, and he said, you know, he always had such a sharp mind. This is so tragic. And what I realized in my being with him, first of all, it didn't scare me at all. And so he could feel I wasn't scared. I was interested. So Pop felt like he could just be whatever he was going through with me freely because it didn't freak me out. So I started to realize he was literally, time was losing its grip inside of his mind, and he was slipping into other parts of his life, in and out of the past. And so one day he was sitting there talking to me, and he all of a sudden started to giggle. And he said, hey, Suze, this is really weird. He said, I'm sitting in this room with you, and I'm in my dentist office in South Philly. And he goes, I haven't been there since I was a kid. How can this be? And I was like, what's it look like, Pop? Tell me what you see. And so he was realizing something was happening but he wasn't really scared of it. And so he literally described the pictures on the wall, the chair, everything in the room, and he was there, but he was also here. And I went through several things like that with him, where he went back to different places in his life, and was actually there living them. So that was pretty cool. And
Yeah, I mean that's fascinating. In fact, when you think somebody could be doing that, is there a difference? Is there a distinction between they're just imagining stuff or they're actually in dimension? I don't know how you measure that.
well, I could tell you the one story I told you the one time about my father. This showed me that he was actually experiencing this.
Okay.
He went back to a time when he was about 5 years old, and his mother had to go in the hospital for a time. And children weren't allowed to visit at that time. So they brought my father, and my grandmother was on the fourth, fifth floor or something, and they brought him outside on the sidewalk and had her come to the window. And she was waving to him out the window. So he's telling me this. And as he's telling me, he goes, "Oh, my mom said that was the happiest day of her life when she saw me out there." And in front of my eyes, I saw, yes, he still had his, 80-year-old body, but his eyes and the expressions and the voice, he turned into a 5-year-old right in front of my eyes. Everything about him became 5 years old. His excitement, the way he spoke, everything. And it was this fabulous time. He wanted to remember how much his mother loved him. And he told me that whole experience, but from the 5-year-old vision, But like I said, I believe he was in the experience for real.
Right.
Having it.
Well, that's fascinating because I know you had these experiences and no one can take that away from you and your beliefs.
Yes.
So why would that not be believable either?
Yes.
And, quantum physics describes different, we're limited on a frequency here, a limited dimension and understanding. So, I mean, it makes sense, at least from a logical perspective, that could actually be true.
Yes.
When we get back from break, let's talk about knowing that there is no death and that especially that these examples that you talk about, whether they're true or not, that's what you believe. How can people start living now in life and not be under that rock of fear, worrying about death, let go of that, and truly live the life that they're here and they're meant to live? All right?
Yeah.
We'll be right back with Susan McDowell from The Magic Touch. Hi, I'm Tim Ray, founder of the United Intentions Foundation. I want you to imagine a world where bullying doesn't exist. Or how about your child wakes up in the morning and is grateful for everything they have? Or they actually believe in himself or herself. On top of that, imagine this. Imagine your child understands that their thoughts and feelings create what they experience. All this is possible with our Imagine If program. And it's all about social emotional learning, showing children how their thoughts and feelings create what they experience. To learn more, go to imagineifprogram.org.
What if you could have whatever you desired with a simple thought? Wishful thinking? Science has proven that thoughts can change our reality. Join the movement and be part of an interactive virtual community that helps you take control of your life through the power of intentions. Learn to create the life you desire, one intention at a time. Sign up today for your free account and start creating.
Hi, I'm Tim Ray, founder of the United Intentions Foundation. And how would you like to have a formula for manifesting whatever you want in your life? Think it's that easy? Well, maybe not that easy, but you could start out with this. Understanding that it's all about creating a state of being. Your state of being, how you act throughout your day, how you feel about yourself throughout the day, and being conscious of that in any given moment. And understanding these three principles: repetition, expectancy, and meaning. And adding those three principles into your life could change and create the state of being that you would need to actually manifest what you want. Remember, repetition, expectancy, expecting what you really want, repeating what you want, and also adding meaning to what you want creates that state of being, a fertile land and fertile soil for you to attract what you truly want to experience. To learn more, go to unitedintentions.org. Welcome back to the Good Intentions Show. I'm Tim Ray, and I am talking to the one and only Susan McDowell from The Magic Touch. And we're talking about death. And one of the things before we went on last break, I thought of my mom, because you were there when she transitioned. You know,
Yes.
and I remember she was towards the end was wanting to, she was living life more so in the moment, present moment, because she couldn't think about the future, because if she did, she realized she
knew.
had cancer, right?
Yes.
So she was in that life, but I mean, just all those different examples of what it is to live life when you're dying.
Well, that reminds me of something that happened before your mom passed, which I think would really help people when they're living this out with somebody else
Right.
who is passing. A lot of the time, I remember when I came in your house that day, your brother Teddy was telling me, we don't know what she gets upset sometimes and we don't know what to do, and it was upsetting him because they wanted to calm her down and nobody knew what to do. So we went up and your mom was going in and out. She was unconscious a lot of the time, and then all of a sudden she would become conscious for a little while. And I did want to mention also, when that happens, this happens with Alzheimer's patients a lot also. This is a gentle way to transition to the other side. It's, some people can't just let go, you know. So this is a way that nature is helping them let go. And they go back and forth between here and there. And they're becoming,
this is familiar.
Yes, and they're becoming familiarized with it, literally.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when you see your loved one there and they're not there, know it's okay that they could be drooling or whatever because their body's kind of almost vacant.
Right.
But they're fine. They're just getting used to the next place. So with this upset piece, your mom, as you remember, we had the whole room filled with people around your mom, and she had been out of it, and then she slowly came to. And at one point, she started getting upset. And she got up and she started going, the pieces, I can't hold the pieces. And she started getting very upset. And I intuitively felt what she was experiencing. And I said, you want to hold the pieces? She said, yes, I can't hold the pieces. And I said, somebody get me a cup. And they all looked at each other. When I looked around and saw everybody's faces, everybody was like so scared. You know, what should we do? And then I said, get me a cup. And they're like, get her a cup. So they brought me a cup. And I said, here, Heather, you can put the pieces in here. And she started to calm down immediately. Remember, she started just getting the pieces and putting them in there.
Yeah.
And what I realized these were the pieces of her life and her memories. And she was letting go. She was not far from death. And so she was so worried she wasn't going to remember her life and all the marvelous pieces that were going past her vision in that moment. And then she completely calmed down when she held that cup full of the pieces. And then I never forgot how focused she got in that second.
Yeah.
And she said, Susan, can I drink them? and I said, yes. And she took that and put it to her mouth. And as she was drinking, I was saying, now you have all the pieces in you forever. They'll never leave you. And she just got so calm after that.
I remember that like it was just yesterday. And so you believe your conscious doesn't forget the pieces, the moments in time that you had this lifetime.
Yes,
maybe.
Yes. You just add on. As you're going over.
Because I can't remember my past pieces. I can't remember.
But what you remember are the pieces that affected your soul. That's what the difference is. You won't remember all the crazy. Yes. And you do take all those with you. I read Carl Jung's autobiography years ago. And he talked about, he didn't write it till he was in his 80s or something. And he said because he didn't feel ready until then. But what he described was, as he got older, he said, it's so funny how my memory works. He said, so many things are becoming distant and forgotten, but other things from day one are becoming crystal clear. And that's what he said, that he realized it was all the parts that affected his soul in some way. They became crystal clear in his old age. You know,
fascinating. And now with, you know, as Eckhart Tolle says, die before you die. And what he means by that is that, you know, if you want to start, if you're worried about dying, let it go, because you will be dead eventually.
Yeah, it's going to happen. So
start living.
yes,
right?
yes.
So what's some of the advice you give people to start living right now today and not worrying about in the back? Because usually it's kind of on the threshold of consciousness.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about death,
Yeah.
but it's there.
It's an underlying, like, gentle roar.
Yeah.
It's that very underlying thing that's there, and it rules you.
Mm-hmm.
When you fear death, you fear living.
Yeah.
You fear life. You're afraid, I'm not going to try that, I could die,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so you're not going to live fully. Like I said, meditation is a fantastic tool which will loosen that fear the more you do it. Another thing is to try to keep bringing yourself into your present moment. And you can do that a million times a day. You'll realize that you're out of your present moment. So whenever you're thinking about the past or the future, if you're not thinking in a state of love and joy about the past, and that is fine when you go into the past and future and it feels great and you're thinking about something wonderful that happened, that connects you to your soul. In those moments, you have no fear of death.
Mm-hmm.
It's the moments that scare you, the moments that worry you, the moments that give you anxiety. You'll notice you're not in the present if you're having those feelings.
Depression of the past or anxiety of the future.
Exactly.
But what about facing your fears, though? I mean, is not a certain relief of in a
Well,
moment of
how
living?
can you face your fear of death without killing yourself?
All
You
right.
see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why you have to loosen its grip slowly
Right.
and gently. But as you do, you will. That's the thing. People don't think you can actually do that when you're alive,
Mm-hmm.
but you really can. And it is a matter of bringing yourself into the present. Like I said, reading up, realizing if this many people had this experience and they're saying it's this way, there must be some truth to it. So that's how you start convincing yourself.
Intellectually convincing yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
And that starts
yeah.
letting down your guards.
Yeah.
And then it also never hurts to ask whatever you believe in, Jesus, the universe, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
whatever you believe in, ask, make a request. I would like whatever experiences I need to help me live to the fullest and conquer this fear, you know, and then trust that you'll notice right after that a book will fall off the shelf at your feet or something.
It comes down to just ask.
Yes.
And, well, Susan, I really appreciate you sharing your belief and your experiences on death, and I think you'll be able to get the message out and relieve a lot of people who have that fear, and start living life finally if they haven't started already.
You've not felt the joy and the fabulousness of life
Right.
until you live to the fullest and be all who you are, not holding any back.
Amen to that. Thanks for coming in.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Thank you for watching. It's been a wonderful show, and remember, change your reality by the power of your intentions. Until next time, we'll see you then.